Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amy and in today's tutorial I'm going to be talking you through how I drew this realistic parrot in coloured pencils. So firstly, for this drawing I'm using the Caran D'Ache Luminance pencils and I'm blocking in the darkest areas of the beak, but I'm also adding in some blue, magenta and flesh tones for the shadowed parts to add some depth and realism to the bird as well. I'm also using the Zest pencil blend, which is a solvent, to smooth out those colours so that everything blends in nicely together, and I'm going to be leaving that for around 15 to 20 minutes so that it dries before I go in over the top and add in more layers of pencil. Now I just wanted to quickly mention that for your first layer of solvent you can be more generous with how much you apply, but just make sure that you decrease the amount that you use for each layer you apply after that. So now I'm working on the face of the parrot and I'm paying particular attention to my reference photo, and I can see that although the parrot has a white face, it's not just plain white. There are a lot of grey and flesh tones in the face as well. So if you try and leave the face just solid white, then it's not going to look realistic and it will look really flat. So you need to look and see what other colours and tones are in the face, but also where the shadowed and highlighted areas are so that you can add a lot of depth in your drawing. Now you can see that for this parrot the face looks very flesh toned, and I've also added solvent onto the face to smooth everything out, but I'm going to be applying lots of layers of coloured pencil so I can gradually keep building on those shadows and the depth in the face, as well as make it look as realistic as possible. So I know that the face area looks quite dark, but once I start to add everything else in, then it's going to come together nicely and it won't look so out of place. So for example, I'm now starting to add the blue, green and yellow feathers on the parrot's head, and already this looks so much better as a whole. I'm also not worrying too much about adding every single feather strand to the head because the feathers are more clustered together, so instead I'm trying to add a lot of tone and shadows to the feather, but also go in the direction that the feathers are going in on the reference photo. You can also see that I'm working a lot more into the face and I'm adding more highlighted areas to again hype up that contrast in the parrot, and I'm also adding some black to the feathered areas so that I can really define the direction that they're going in. Now, for the feathers going down the parrot's body, I'm trying to follow a similar structure to what I did for the feathers on top of the head. So again, I'm looking more at where the lightest and darkest areas are, and I'm using various coloured pencils to add lots of shading and tone in the drawing. So for example, for the orange feathers on the parrot's chest, I'm using a lot of yellowish tones, but also some browny oranges so that I can really reflect where the light is hitting the parrot. I'm also adding in some dark browns to really define the feathers more and adding the white pencil to create highlights. I'm using solvent on the parrot's body as well, so after I've applied the solvent to one area, I'm letting that dry and working on another area instead. So you can see here that I'm working my way down the parrot's body and smoothing everything out with the solvent. For the blue feathers on the parrot's wings, they are definitely more shaped than the clustered feathers on the parrot's head, but I'm still going to work lots of different blue and green tones into the area by adding lots of layers of solvent. So as you can see here, once one area has dried completely, it's now safe for me to work more coloured pencil into that area, because if I try to do that before letting the paper dry completely, then I'd risk damaging the tooth of the paper, which really isn't what I want. So now I'm really focusing on fully rendering certain areas, so I'm making sure that all of my white grain is filled in, there's lots of vibrancy, contrast and tone in the piece, and I'm moving back over to areas that have now dried after using the solvent and adding a lot more layers of coloured pencil to that area too. So you can see in the video that I'm jumping around a lot on the drawing, so I apologise for that, but the reason why I'm doing that is mainly because I'm waiting for certain areas of the solvent to dry properly before I can add more layers of pencil to it. I think the most important thing to remember with coloured pencils is that you should expect to work in a lot of layers. Layers are really the most crucial thing for doing realistic drawings because you want to build up the stages of your drawings gradually. So if you go in straight away with a really heavy hand and burnish too early, then you really aren't going to see all of the lovely details in your drawing and you're going to end up disappointed. This is definitely one thing that gets to people a lot. Coloured pencils are a very, very slow medium to work in, so you do have to be really patient with them. This drawing, for example, took me around 8 hours to complete because of how tiny the tip of the pencil is and how much area you have to cover with it, but also because I was waiting so much for the solvent to dry as well. But honestly, you can create really beautiful works with coloured pencils, and particularly these pencils because they are a waxed based pencil. The colours blend really well together, they've got great pigmentation, and they also work really well with a solvent as well. so you're going to get a really high quality drawing from them. But anyway, I'm almost finished with this drawing now, and I really hope that you enjoyed this video. As always, I have a full list of all of the materials that I used in the description box down below if you'd like to check anything out. If you like this video, then please don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you never miss an update from me. Thank you once again for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye everyone!